We're live. We are live on Spreaker.com. We are live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. And we're going to be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. What's going on, everybody? I'm Ryan Thomas. I just wrapped up the first 14-team Thomas Take Sports Podcast Fantasy Football League. The draft was today. The draft featured the following owners in the league today. And boy, was this draft fun. It started at 6. It wrapped up at about 7:35. And you got a 14-team league, 7 teams in each division. You got myself, you got my dad, my buddy Johnny Rindak, Derek May Jr., Shane Courtney, Deshaun Vincent, and Samuel White. That is the American Thomas Take Conference. And then the National Thomas Take Conference. Justin Marchesny, Chris Cornell, Nadif Taylor, Joshua Rest, Michael Burdett, Josh Sonberg, and Eric Van Wyck. Those are what the two divisions lay out to be. And let's go right into it. Let's go into the draft. So this 14-team league, for a 14-team league, I did not think that these picks would go as fast as they did in the early rounds. Felt like the first 3 rounds were over in 5 minutes. It was very weird. Never had that happen before in any fantasy draft. But with no hesitation, Justin Marchesny had the first overall selection in the first round of the draft, obviously, first pick. And he sent shockwaves throughout the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Fantasy Football League by selecting Le'Veon Bell. I was shocked. I thought it was going to be Saquon Barkley. I thought it was going to be Christian McCaffrey, but he went against conventional wisdom and went with Le'Veon Bell. I have Le'Veon Bell in the Thomas Take Keeper League. I'm hoping that Le'Veon Bell is really going to pan out for owners this year. There's a lot of risk with that pick, but there could be plenty of reward as well. Moving on to the second overall selection, you have Alvin Kamara selected with the second pick. So not only did Bell go first overall, Kamara went second overall. I thought, Kamara would probably end up being the third overall pick in the order of Barkley, McCaffrey, and Kamara, which has been the cookie cutter 1, 2, 3 in my fantasy football drafts, at least. So that left Johnny Rindak with a hell of a selection of getting Saquon Barkley third overall. I'm sure that the Yahoo draft experts are lauding that pick, saying that pick was a great pick for Johnny. Fourth overall, you have Shady Poyer Lawyer, fourth overall, selecting Christian McCaffrey. That is my boy, Nadif Taylor, former teammate of mine on the Lockport High School wrestling team. Shout out to Nadif out there in Ohio, selecting Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey should be the first overall pick in most fantasy drafts, but especially a PPR. I love Christian McCaffrey. He's probably my favorite player in the game right now that isn't a Buffalo Bill. Dead Whale Derek May took David Johnson fifth. Josh Rest selected Nick Chubb, my man from Trainwreck Sports. So the first 6 picks of this draft were running backs. The first 7 picks in this draft were running backs. Michael Burdett took Ezekiel Elliott. A little bit of controversy there for Burdett. He missed his first pick and auto-picked Ezekiel Elliott. Hopefully that does not come back to bite him in the butt. I would hate to see that. Deshaun Vincent on auto-pick. Deshaun, I got a bone to pick with you on auto-pick there. Selected DeAndre Hopkins. James Conner went number 9 overall to Dr. Poyer and Mr. Hyde. That is Shane Courtney, who has been an avid supporter of the Thomas Take Sports podcast since the beginning. Shane, happy to have you back in the league once again. Another year, another season. Eric Van Wyck took a man he knows a lot about, a player that plays for his division rival, New Orleans Saints. Eric Van Wyck, his team name is Eric's Dirty Birds, because he's a Falcons fan, of course. That makes sense. But he takes Michael Thomas, 10th overall. He's going to be rooting against a rival, I guess. 11th overall, my man Samuel White selects Dalvin Cook. And I don't think that was necessarily a bad pick. I think Dalvin Cook could be prime and ready for a big breakout season. The guy's got a ton of talent, just needs to stay healthy. 12th overall, my dad Dean Thomas selected Devontae Adams, 13th overall. The second place runner-up, Josh Sonberg, not rubbing salt in the wounds there, but I got to say why you're picking 13th overall, because we know who was picking 14th overall. We'll get to that in a minute. But Josh Sonberg selects Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, one of the better runners in the AFC, one of the better running backs in the AFC, period. And now we move into the end of the first round, the start of the second round. Your boy, your host, Ryan Thomas, the Thomas Take, selects Odell Beckham Jr., 14th overall. Round 2, a little bit of a curveball for some people, I'm sure of it. Rated 21st overall, Ryan Thomas, myself, and I selected Kerryon Johnson of the Detroit Lions. I got high expectations for both of these players. I see these guys as boom players in 2019. The first tight end off the board then was Josh, again, selecting Travis Kelce. Two really solid AFC players there drafted by Josh, and Joe Mixon and Travis Kelce. Then, being that it's a snake draft, Dean Thomas selects Todd Gurley, the second, 17th overall. In a 14-team league, I don't think that was too early. You know, you see all those great running backs go, and to not get Todd Gurley there, I think would be a little bit of a mistake. Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Dr. Poyer and Mr. Hyde, Hill, Jones, Mahomes. Samuel took Hill. Julio went to the Falcons fan, Eric Van Wyck, and the first quarterback off the board, 20th overall, no surprise there, Patrick Mahomes. Juju Smith-Schuster to Deshaun Vincent, Mike Evans to Michael Burdett's team. Antonio Brown to Josh Rest. I was a little shocked that Rest took Antonio Brown due to the fact that we kind of heckled Antonio Brown on that one show, or not on that one, on my show actually. I think it was on my podcast. Yeah, we're making fun of him. I mean, it's tough not to at this point. I'm going to go over the top 25 selections, and we'll go team for team. Devonta Freeman, selected by Derek May, and Leonard Fournette, selected by a Shady Poyer lawyer. So now let's just go team for team, and I'm going to go first off, who had the quote-unquote best draft. Now those rankings, whatever you will, become generated by the by Yahoo. And I got a B, but we'll see what everybody else got. So my team shakes out to be as follows: Tom Brady, Odell Beckham Jr., Kenny Galladay, Robbie Anderson, Kerryon Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Hunter Henry, Corey Davis, Darius Geis, Michael Gallup, Jalen Samuels, Thompson, Waller, Stills, Stafford, Bailey, and Philadelphia's defense. And then we'll go to Justin here. Justin selected first overall Le'Veon Bell. Then he went back-to-back with two wide receivers, Stephon Diggs and Julian Edelman. Selected Matt Ryan in the fourth round. I thought that was a little early for Edelman and a little early for Matt Ryan. Alshon Jeffrey, 5th round. LaShawn McCoy, I thought that was a little bit of a reach pick in the 6th round. We'll see how that works out. New England's defense, a little early. I thought there were some reaches there by Justin, but hopefully, for his sake that it works out, because this is a 14-team league. It's going to be tough to recover from that. He did take both Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones, not really knowing who are the running backs in that backfield in Tampa Bay. He took both of them. And was his last pick, he took Derek Carr. 2 kickers and Vinatieri Gostkowski. I don't really know what the game plan was for Justin, but we won't rip on him too much. We'll keep him, keep him honest. The clean okay, so we got Chris Cornell. He drafted 2nd. He took Alvin Kamara 2nd. He took Brandon Cooks. He took Derrick Henry, Will Fuller, Allen Robinson, Kyle Rudolph, Jared Goff, Kalen Ballage. Was the first man to take a defense. I know that for sure because I had my eye on Chicago, and Chris took Chicago in the 9th round. Kiki Kute, Jerick McKinnon, Mike Davis, Jordan Reed, John Ross III, Will Lutz, Marquise Lee, and Marcus Mariota. He got some really decent sleeper picks there with Mike Davis, Jordan Reed, and John Ross III. Even Marquise Lee, Mariota being his last pick. I think if Jared Goff were to go down for some reason, as long as Marcus Mariota is healthy, I think he can be pretty good in this league. Johnny Rindak, as I said, he got a Christmas gift Christmas gift on August 25th, where he got Saquon Barkley 3rd overall. He then took Adam Thielen, who is one of the most underrated receivers in this league. And there was 2 things that I thought Johnny did real well in this draft. He took Adam Thielen in the 2nd round, and then he took Cooper Kupp in the 5th round. He got the 2 white boys can jump white boys at wide receiver, and Adam Thielen and Cooper Kupp, and then Vance McDonald. I think Vance McDonald is going to have a real big year. Took some chances as well, though, taking Kareem Hunt in the 9th round. Hunt will be out for the first 9 weeks of the season, being that the Cleveland's bye is week 7. So he's a late-round stash, and, with no risk, there is no reward, so I can't really say that was a bad pick per se. Maybe a little bit early, but, I like some of the value that he got there. Jimmy Garoppolo late, Randall Cobb late. He got Delaney Walker late, so in the 12th round, and then Cole Beasley in the 11th round. He's a Buffalo Bill that I think will definitely put up some numbers. His receivers I like. Potentially he could have Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and Golden Tate. Those are guys that I think are going to get the ball a lot. And then you got Nadif Taylor, as I said, former teammate of mine on the Lockport High School wrestling team. Round 1, he takes Christian McCaffrey, 4th overall. I cannot believe Le'Veon Bell was the first pick of this draft. It stunned me. Leonard Fournette in the 2nd round, and then Josh Jacobs in the 3rd round. He had a big gap between picks at one point, 4 to 25. He was able to get McCaffrey and Fournette, and then 32 to 53. That's a bit of a wait. Josh Jacobs gets T.Y. Hilton. He then takes the chance on A.J. Green. And I think maybe Nadif's logic was, I'll take this chance on A.J. Green, and then we'll just go wide receiver again anyway. And he gets Curtis Samuel and Marvin Jones Jr. Not bad receivers by any stretch. I think Curtis Samuel should have a decent year. Marvin Jones Jr. is always pretty fair. Lamar Jackson in the 8th round, I don't know what to make of that due to the fact that I think Lamar Jackson is probably one of the worst pure passing quarterbacks in the league, but he can sure run. Ideally, if you're Baltimore, you don't want him to run as much as he did last year. He would have carried the ball more times than Ezekiel Elliott had Lamar Jackson actually played a full 16-game season. Not many people know that, but check the numbers. They're right on the money. Jamison Crowder, 9th overall selection. Noah Fant, a young tight end, rookie tight end for Denver. And then you get Miles Boykin in Baltimore for the 15th round selection. And I like some of the pieces that that Nadif got. I think Andy Dalton late is a good pick, 16th round. So I think Andy Dalton at some point will end up being a starter, though. I'm not too high on Lamar Jackson as a fantasy passing quarterback. Derek May took David Johnson 5th overall. He then took Devontae Freeman 24th overall in the second round. Mark Ingram, I think, is a real underrated selection in this year's fantasy drafts. He's been a consistent contributor over the course of his career. He then turned the tables on everybody and selected Josh Gordon in the 4th round, Jarvis Landry in the 5th round, Austin Hooper in the 6th, Kenyon Drake in the 7th, N'Keal Harry in the 8th, Anthony Miller in the 9th, Geronimo Allison, DK Metcalf. He's relying on some young weapons to hopefully get him through. He did not take a quarterback until the 13th round, and he took Kirk Cousins, and that was a real quick pick by Derek May. He did not hesitate in taking Kirk Cousins. So maybe he had a plan this entire draft to say, hey, I'm going to wait on a quarterback. I'm not going to go down that road early. I'm not going to take Pat Mahomes in the top 20. I'm not going to take Aaron Rodgers or any other quarterback. I'm going to wait, see who's there, and strike while the iron's kind of cold and wait till plenty of quarterbacks have been picked and address other positions. I like the sleeper potential between his 8th and 11th round picks, N'Keal Harry, Anthony Miller, Geronimo Allison, and DK Metcalf. Those are 4 wide receivers that I think could be very good sleepers. So take Sam Darnold, Seattle's defense, and Mason Crosby as his kicker. And Yahoo graded him a D draft. I did not think it was that bad of a draft. Nick Chubb, the first pick by Josh Rest of TrainWreckSports.com. He takes Nick Chubb. He takes Antonio Brown. Melvin Gordon, 34th overall. Josh took advantage of Gordon being in free fall due to that holdout. Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, Christian Kirk, Cam Newton, Darrell Henderson Jr., Dante Pettis, Mark Andrews, Tyrell Williams, Dion Lewis, Quincy Enunwa, Taylor Gabriel, Carlos Hyde, Denver's D, and Brett Maher. Real good kicker for fantasy. And Brett Maher. Rest takes Darrell Henderson Jr. in the 8th, hoping that he can squeeze some life out of that. His 2 running backs appear to be Melvin Gordon and Chris Carson, locked and loaded in his lineup. He gets Dion Lewis late in the 12th round. That's a sleeper there. Carlos Hyde is expected to be cut, so Josh might be looking for another running back in the near future. Michael Burdett, Mr. Auto Pick. He missed his first pick. Michael Burdett. Ezekiel Elliott. First round, 7th overall. Can't really complain about that. If Zeke does sign, that's a steal for anyone, because if Zeke is playing, he's healthy, he's ready, could obviously make a case he'd be the first overall pick, and I would not disagree with you in the slightest. Mike Evans, Keenan Allen. I love that duo. That's a very good duo. A true sleeper player, too, is David Montgomery. Evan Ingram is somebody to keep an eye out on. He got some solid talent. Austin Eckler, he's hoping to take advantage of that Gordon holdout. And Carson Wentz, he gets in the 7th round, sandwiched in between everybody. TJ Hawkinson, that's the pick that I really like from Michael. I thought that was an underrated pick right there. Real good steal for Michael. Deshaun Vincent. He selects DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, George Kittle, Marlon Mack, Calvin Ridley, Deshaun Watson, Calvin Ridley, Royce Freeman, Larry Fitzgerald, and Deshaun was on auto pick, so I don't know if this was pre-ranked, but I'm kind of going to just skip over it just for the fact that he didn't draft his team, so I don't know what his thoughts are on it. Dr. Poyer and Mr. Hyde. He received an A draft grade, and Yahoo believes that despite some stretch picks, Dr. Poyer and Mr. Hyde were a beast in the draft room. A beast. They project he'll finish 12-1. Well, that one loss, we know who he's gonna lose to. It's not going to be me. Or it is going to be me. That's what I meant. Damn it, I messed that up. James Conner, selected 9th overall. Takes Mahomes. Takes Amari Cooper. I think maybe Yahoo is a little bit in love with Mahomes a little bit too much. And that's why he's given this A. Because Yahoo thinks that Mahomes is going to run for 8,000 yards and throw for 20,000. But I do like the Conner, Mahomes, Cooper picks. The first 3 rounds were solid. Mike Williams should take his next step. Duke Johnson, as of now, is the starter in Houston with Lamar Miller's injury. David Njoku, decent. Tariq Cohen, we'll see what happens in Chicago. John Brown of the Bills should be a deep threat, as we all know. And really got some great late round value with Mohamed Sanu. Adam Humphries is a player that I just picked in the 10-team Thomas Takes Fantasy Football League. And I'll go over that too at some point. I've just been burned out. Eric Van Wyck takes Michael Thomas, Julio Jones. That's probably the best duo of wide receivers that you could have. Zach Ertz, Sony Michel, Tevin Coleman, Dede Westbrook, Phillip Rivers, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Jordan Howard. You know, one theme I'm seeing here in Eric's draft is he drafted some really good running backs as well. Sound running backs. Nothing too fancy. No one that's really going to jump out at you. But Sony Michel and Tevin Coleman I really like a lot. Jordan Howard, I have him as a big sleeper. And maybe Eric has been listening to the podcast more than usual because I said that Jordan Howard is a major sleeper in this year's drafts. So, yeah, good draft, Eric, there. I like that a lot. Samuel White, he selected Dalvin Cook, and we went over the first round at the beginning there. Dalvin Cook is a player that I think is only going to get better, only going to raise his game, raise his ceiling, and really have a good season. Tyreek Hill is another one of those guys. These are big boom play players, guys that can get big, long touchdowns. And in this league, where you have bonuses for particular fantasy players or on certain plays, bonuses on big plays, bonuses on touchdowns as well, there are big plays. Dalvin Cook and Tyreek Hill might be the 2 best first 2 picks of this draft, even better than mine of Odell Beckham and Kerryon Johnson. I'm willing to throw that out there. I like what Samuel did. Low risk, high reward. Chris Godwin, Tyler Boyd. Samuel's looking for the guys that are the opportunistic guys, the guys that can kind of get the underneath stuff. The Chris Godwins, the Tyler Boyds. O.J. Howard is a real good pick. He took 2 tight ends, which I thought was interesting, in the 5th and 6th round, and O.J. Howard, Jared Cook, Matt Breida, Dante Moncrief, and then in the 9th and 10th round, Samuel went quarterback back-to-back. He went Dak Prescott and Josh Allen. And then in the 11th round, Samuel basically just slapped me right across the face and took Devin Singletary of the Buffalo Bills 2 picks before me. And I was just really kicking myself over that one because I wanted him really bad. Marquise Goodwin, Minnesota's D, Buffalo's D, takes 2 defenses. Kamir Fairbairn, Alex Erickson, Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller obviously tore his knee at that point. Samuel was on auto pick. So next up, we got my dad in the league. Plays in practically every fantasy football league that I play in. He takes Devontae Adams. Takes Todd Gurley. And then, for the weirdest reason, he takes Baker Mayfield. And this is where things get interesting because I'm sitting there on my draft, waiting for my time to come. He takes Baker Mayfield. I took Odell Beckham, hoping that Baker Mayfield would be available in the 3rd or 4th round. And if I was going to take a quarterback early, it was going to be Baker Mayfield. I think Cleveland's going to put up massive numbers this year. And I think Baker Mayfield is going to do really well. So I was hoping, I had Baker Mayfield rated as my 2nd best quarterback to Pat Mahomes in the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Fantasy Football Quarterback Rankings. And then my dad takes him on me. Is listening to every content stuff I post. And maybe this is the detrimental part of being a host of a podcast that people listen and they scoop up the guys that you want. So never put out your deck of cards. Never show your hand. But, you know, what makes this even more frustrating is he says, I meant to take Aaron Rodgers. Then he takes Aaron Rodgers too. He took them both. Baker Mayfield, 3rd round, 40th overall. Aaron Rodgers, 4th round, 45th overall. So he's just saying, I'm going to trade one of them. And it looks like I'm going to have to trade Mayfield because I got Devontae Adams first to pair with Rodgers. I'm like, you ass. I hate that. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I got Tom Brady and I got Matt Stafford as my backup, which I thought was important because Stafford's reliable. He can play. He just needs the reins of the offense being, put on his shoulders so he can maybe do some things that Aaron Rodgers has been doing these last few years. I think Stafford has always had that potential. They just don't want to give him the reins of the offense for some reason. But me having Kenny Galladay, I thought, there's my poor man's Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Matt Stafford, and Kenny Galladay. I guess we can say that. So he takes Aaron Rodgers, takes Miles Sanders in the 5th round. There's a lot of rumors and reports that Sanders is going to be the starter in Philly. He was the backup to Saquon Barkley in Penn State, or at Penn State, I should say. Sammy Watkins he picked in the 6th round. I think he always has held out hope that Watkins would eventually become something. I don't know if he ever will, but he picked him. Sterling Shepard, 7th round, great pick there. Really all they got, especially while Golden Tate is out. Trey Burton, a guy that I like. Nelson Aguilar, another player I like. Tre'Quan Smith, another guy that I like. Philip Dorsett gets a lot of targets. He'll probably get more. And I think the best pick late rounds that my dad made was Jalen Richard of the Oakland Raiders. This guy is a PPR machine as a running back. So for depth purposes in a 14-team league, you really need to get that guy that you can kind of rely on and say to yourself, if somebody goes down, I'm in pretty good shape putting this guy in there. And that's the key. That's really the key. So 13th team would be Don Beebe's hustle, Josh Sonberg. Josh took Joe Mixon and Travis Kelce. I really liked those picks by Josh. Real safe picks, and that's what you need. You need safe picks, guys that aren't going to burn you and guys that will get you consistent week-to-week production. I don't know if there's any two better consistent week-to-week producers than Joe Mixon and Travis Kelce, so good for Josh on that. Damian Williams, he selects in the 3rd round. Robert Woods, he selects. Russell Wilson, he takes. DJ Moore, Ben Roethlisberger. I thought it was a little weird that he did take Russell Wilson and then Big Ben. Wilson in the 5th, Roethlisberger in the 7th, but I don't really have that much of a problem with it. Really, as the draft wore on, he looked like he was just taking a lot of handcuffs. A lot of guys that if, maybe they didn't do this or didn't do that, or another guy got hurt, that this could be the guy. He apparently took Latavius Murray instead of Mike Davis on auto pick. His phone died, and he was forced to take that player. But I'm not too sure about his bench. I feel like there's a lot of wide receivers on it, almost too many. But maybe not. Maybe Josh knows something that I don't know. Who knows? And then, as I said, I read out my team, but I took Odell Beckham Jr. in the 1st round. I really have high expectations for Cleveland this year. I wouldn't be shocked if, not only if they were fantasy gold, but if they were in the Super Bowl this season. It wouldn't shock me at all. Kerryon Johnson was a running back I zeroed in on. He was somebody that I think is going to be very good this year. Kenny Galladay, Philip Lindsay in the 3rd and 4th round. Really, I'm hoping and praying that Philip Lindsay ends up starting like he was last year for Denver. All this Royce Freeman garble needs to stop. Philip Lindsay did everything he could to earn and keep that job. They should let him continue. Robbie Anderson I took in the 5th round, and Robbie Anderson was a tough pick for me because I hate the Jets. I don't want to see the Jets do well, but Robbie Anderson in a 14-team league, 70th overall. I had major gaps, guys, between picks, 26 picks every time I picked, and I was just trying to find as much depth as I possibly could, and wait on a quarterback, wait on a defense, wait on, backup tight ends before I got a backup running back. And I think I successfully achieved what I wanted to. Getting Hunter Henry. The first 6 rounds I drafted a wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then a running back. So the first 7 rounds I took 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs. And in the 6th round I took a tight end. So that tight end was Hunter Henry, who I think is going to really be a star in this league. I could definitely see him taking over that, upper echelon of the tight ends this season. Phillip Rivers loves to throw to him. It's never been a question of Hunter Henry's talent. It's always been a question of his durability. 8th round, Corey Davis. 9th round, Michael Gallup. I really am excited for the prospects of Michael Gallup. I think he's going to be a really good receiver in this league for many years to come. I think Dallas found a real gem. 10th round, I go Tom Brady. Can't beat that. 127th overall. 11th and 12th round, I went back-to-back Jalen Samuels, who I think will definitely have some production this year, and Darwin Thompson of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's being talked about as one of the biggest steals of any fantasy football draft. Darren Waller, tight end for the Oakland Raiders. Oh, my Lord, this guy. I was so thrilled to see him available. I think he's going to do really well. He's been a subject of Hard Knocks. He's somebody that really just knows how to play football. He's a smart player. Kenny Stills, Miami Dolphins. I think he'll probably be on another team in a few weeks. Hopefully that helps his fantasy value rather than hurt it. Philadelphia's defense, 15th round, Matt Stafford and Dan Bailey. Guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited for this league. I think this is going to be really fun. This is a league that I think will be competitive. It's a league that I think is going to force teams to trade a lot. This is a league that I think will be fun due to the simple fact that you have 2 divisions of 7 teams. The first place team in each division gets the first round bye. Whoever has the better record of those 2 teams gets the first or second seed. So this is really going to be a widespread league where you have a lot of moves being made. Hopefully nobody makes too many missteps. I know one thing. I'm going to keep my team as good as I possibly can, as close to I possibly can to what it is right now. I'm projected for 139 points to my dad's 127. We'll see what happens there. I think that I got some good depth. I got players that will fill in nicely if other guys go down or other guys get hurt. And that was really my main concern, picking 14th especially. I really was worried about that. To see Odell Beckham there, 14th overall, I could not pass that up. Could not pass up Kerryon Johnson as well. Could not pass up Kenny Galladay. I thought I did pretty well considering that I picked 14th in a 14-team draft. I really wanted to challenge myself. And in the American Thomas Take Conference, we got myself, got my dad, Johnny Rindak, Derek May, Shane Courtney, Deshaun, and Samuel. And then in the National Thomas Take Conference, you got Justin, Chris, Nadif, Josh Rest, Michael Burdett, Josh Sonberg, Eric Van Wyck, Nadif Taylor, Chris Cornell, and Justin Marchesny. Obviously, as I just said, didn't say the last names. I forgot. But I'm pumped. Week 1, I go up against my dad, and he's going to get a beat down, the likes of which has never been seen before. Week after that, I played Johnny Rindak. So, Johnny, I got you circled on my calendar. You might have to take a week 2L. We'll see. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, the 2019 Fantasy Football Draft Recap. And what a time it was. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Draft Recap show. Good luck this season, everybody. You're going to need it. This is the reigning champ you're listening to. You know that. You can check out this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take. And you can also follow me on Twitter. Why not follow me on Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take? Why not subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts? Follow the show on Spotify. and be a part of it. Like the show on Facebook and be a part of the show. Join the takeover.